Hello, and welcome to the first session of Star Trek Adventures Kintsugi. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and this is our starter for a quarterly of Star Trek Adventures. I have run quite a bit of 2D20. I've run an express version of Star Trek Adventures that was, it worked, but there were some issues with it. So this is in some ways me going, okay, let's play Star Trek Adventures, rules as written for the most part, and see how that goes, and give that a try. Uh, this is one of many videos that you can find on my YouTube channel, and so you can check that out. I have a webpage, ageofravensgames.com, and there's a Patreon that supports that, which I'm going to start mentioning every single time. So I will be shilling for that repeatedly. But we're going to start today by going through our cats setup, which is going to lead into our safety discussion, which is that we're going to talk, kind of brainstorm about what people are thinking about character-wise, and we'll talk about what we want campaign-wise, what we want out of that, what things we want to have on our palette for more, see more of, see less of, maybe even kind of get a direction for the campaign. But let me give the setup here for those at home. So we are about a year and a half after the events of Wolf 359 in Star Trek Next Generation. This is the Borg attack, where the massed fleets met the Borg cube, and around 50 ships were destroyed, with only a handful of them being salvageable from those events. That, of course, the cube was eventually defeated, but that left a huge gap in the power structure of the Federation and the allied planets. And we're 18 months after that. Federation has been on a program of accelerated rebuilding. In particular, the ship that we're going to be having as our main ship here is going to be at least partially rebuilt from some things salvaged from Wolf 359, just as a kind of a touchstone for what we're doing. To give you the context of how this also fits into the milieu of that, this is around the time, and we may see this pop up in the course of the game, this is around the time that the Cardassians leave Bajor. So that is right around the start of DS9, to put that in the greater context of things. So we'll be doing a crew of a vessel. What kind of mission exactly we're deciding on, the group is going to talk about. That's going to be part of our session 0. That's the basic concept of what we're doing here. I have resubscribed to Paramount Plus, and I've been watching what I can. I've been picking up pieces. Lower Decks is actually the most, for me, like accessible of things. It's really solid. But so that's our concept. Our approach today will be talking about what we want, don't want in the campaign. Then we'll talk a little bit about character ideas, characters' roles, and then we're going to use the life path system for building our characters. When we go to do that, especially when we get to the events section, I will let folks roll 2d20 and pick which one they want. And if they happen to roll something that somebody else has already selected, then you can choose to roll a different one or whatnot, just so we get some variety in that. I found that was a very fun part of building the original stuff when I did Star Trek Adventures Expressed. The actual play of sessions, generally, this is a Star Trek game, so this is going to be fairly episodic. A mission will have an A plot, and we'll have maybe a B and C plot, and we'll kind of set that up in the teaser for that. There may be ongoing story elements that occur, recurring characters, those kinds of things built up, but we are going to have a kind of a mission-based approach. So just to kind of tell you what that's going to be, this is the thing with Star Trek Adventures, is it has a odd milestone approach to advancement, because I know how many sessions we have. We probably at the midpoint will get a full advance, which is the chance to raise a stat or to take a new talent or so on. But then you'll also have the opportunities throughout to do swapping, which is the main way that they do experience. So tone. My touchstones for Star Trek in general, and particularly for this, are Star Trek The Next Generation and also Strange New Worlds. These are shows that have some darkness in them, but are generally hopeful. They are generally optimistic about what the intent of the Federation is, though those choices, those attitudes and things get questioned. And I think that that's important. But like, I like Discovery. I think it's a really cool show. I think it's got a lot of great stuff, but it is a lot darker than the Star Trek that I am entirely comfortable with. So just to know that's where I am coming from. Content warnings, of course, we are going to have issues of violence. We're going to have alien creatures, alien civilizations. We're going to have questions of imperialism and colonization and all of that popping up, just to put that on the table. We are going to be using a layered set of safety tools for our play. We will be using, and I know everyone here has played with me before, so you're familiar with it, but I just want to quickly go through it. We have lines, veils, and ask first. So lines are hard. We don't want this in play. This is a thing we don't want to see at the table. It's not what we enjoy. Some of this will obviously be set kind of by the tone and the game that we are playing, but I want us to have a chance to do that. Veils are anything that if we present them, they will be elided or up here off screen, won't be directly focused on. And then ask first are things that if they were to occur, we want to check in with people before that. I did put a romance matrix in there. That's entirely optional. That's more you saying, hey, I wouldn't mind or be interested in having my character have interpersonal relationships of that kind. So that is on there. I appreciate everybody. Somebody put the links in for the play materials and the character creation table, and I appreciate that little bit. But that's our first level of safety. Our second level is, of course, the X card, which we can do with a gesture or verbally. X card is used to mark out material that is problematic, that is wildly off tone, that is objectionable. It can be also used to mark out play style events. If someone is being intrusive or pushy, you can kind of X card to have us calibrate. X card is also a good place to mark out if maybe we're heading towards something that is in our lines and veils already marked, but maybe we've forgotten about it. The GM, maybe I'm heading towards something that you think might touch on that. X card is a good point to say, hey, we're heading towards this. Just want to make sure that we're not. With the X card, as with your choices for lines and veils, you don't have to explain yourself. If you decide to X card something, you don't have to explain why you've decided to do that. You don't have to defend your decision. The only question we might ask is like, how far back do you want us to go? What are the limits here? But that's just to get us all on the same page. You are welcome to explain why you X carded, but you should never feel obliged to do that. The last piece of this is the open door policy, which means that should you need to leave at any point for whatever reason, someone's arrived at your house mysteriously, or food is there, or you're not feeling well, or you look over and your dog is chewing something and you don't know what it is. These are all reasons to open door briefly or for a while. And it'd be great if you could tell us you're going to be back, but that's not an obligation on your part. Open door also applies to our sessions. If you're not feeling well, whatever, you don't have to explain. If life interferes, you don't have to do that. It'd be great if you could tell us that you're not going to be there, but that is entirely your prerogative. If as well, and I always say this, you find that this game is not for you, you should feel free to open door for that. Nobody should play in a game that they are not enjoying. I think that's really, really important, because I have been stuck in games via the social contract for way longer than I wanted to before I could extricate myself from them. So I never want to put that on anybody else. So those are our tools, and we will get those figured out. So go ahead. I know some people have already marked in the lines and veils and asked first. This is a living document. It can change throughout or adjust throughout. So the question is going to be what people are interested in doing as a kind of Star Trek game. And I'm going to pull this tab over close to the safety tab here for a palette. I want to kind of go around and poll people about what you're thinking about, what you're interested in, what kinds of stories, if there are particular Star Trek peoples or themes that you're interested in or not interested in, establishing those, and a sense of like, do you want classic Star Trek? Do you want a more investigative game? Do you want exploration? Do you want military? Like, what kinds of things do you think you want to see? And Paul, you were first to arrive. So I want to ask you what you're thinking about, if there's something you'd like to see or something you're less interested in that we can kind of put on the palette, just to kind of, I'm going to go one around and give everybody a voice on this and move through.
Exploration.
As something you want to see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So new worlds, new civilizations, meeting new society.
Go.
Oh, exactly. So exploration is a strong suit. Alan, what about you?
Inexplicable phenomena, which I suppose matches the exploration.
Yeah, but that's a particular kind of thing. I think I've spelled inexplicable phenomena, okay, but when I'm typing rapidly, yeah, okay. So exploration, inexplicable phenomena, weird things that science cannot yet explain, those sorts of things. Donna, what about for you?
For things I'd like to see, I mean, I'd like, the kind of on, because I think 18 months on, while the Federation have defeated the Borg at Earth, it's still a live issue, So I think I'd like to see some backdrop or some interest with the Borg going on.
The idea that part of what's going on is that they're rebuilding, but they also still have to consider the Borg are out there. Like, how are they redistributing resources? Are they testing new weapons? Are they sending out secret missions? Are they doing things? I think that's a great idea. Will, what about you?
Oh, I've already beaten you to a game first, Paul. Don't try to pull that.
There was at least one of the
At least one. Yeah. Well, I was going to say the aftermath of the Borg invasion, but I think that's covered with interest with the Borg. So what I think I would like to see is a contested frontier, like exploration, that classic kind of like the Romulans lay claim to this, but the settlers were here first or whatever, that kind of political tension sort of.
Are you more you mentioned the Romulans? Are you interested in the Romulans more than the Cardassians, or does it not matter to you?
That was just an example.
Okay, all right.
That would be consciously not choosing the Cardassians because they're actually probably what I am more interested in, based upon my brief knowledge of the Star Trek timeline. Is that this is the period where the Federation has made peace with the Cardassians after like 30 years of conflict, right?
Absolutely.
Whereas,
A tense and fragile piece with the
yeah.
Cardassians. Okay.
But I mean, whoever really,
Right.
like doesn't necessarily have to be a big thing, but more like this outpost here. It's not just alien of the week. It's also the other what are they called? And political entities in the Star Trek, for a better word.
I like that, especially as perhaps new areas are discovered and suddenly become in play for these political alliances.
Well, the places that were new, and then the Borg invaded, and therefore no one really managed to consolidate anything in those 18 months that previously would have been like, oh, it's all Federation, the paperwork's with Earth, like.
Yeah, we'll send our second contact team. Okay. All right. So those are some things we want. Paul, anything else you want or don't want?
I would not like to see time travel.
No time travel. Okay. I think that is a fair request.
Not even an appearance of Gary Seven or someone. I mean, you can always crop up.
I'd push as far as come.
Okay. So no travel. Cryogenic freeze to the future, perhaps, but no actual time travel itself. Alan?
I would like to see some photon torpedoes in action, I guess.
Okay.
So I would like to see tense face-off that involves us taking out the bad guys with full phaser.
Absolutely. I am still working on like how we're going to be managing the spaceship combat because it's involved in Star Trek Adventures. I sat down to watch somebody do an explainer video on it, and it's 45 minutes long. And there came a point, I'm about 20 minutes in, that my eyes started to glaze. So we would probably be doing some corner cutting on that to try and capture the feel of a tense space combat, but maybe not with all of the subsystems. Donna, anything else you want or don't want?
So I know that we're kind of aiming for kind of an episodic structure, but the bit of Star Trek I like the least is the show up at a planet. They have this intractable social problem that we solve in 42 minutes and move on. So, I guess I would like there to be kind of deeper problems. At least where we come to, hey, we're essentially space colonizers and we know everything that is righteous in the universe. So maybe a little bit more DS9, problems that stay around from week to week or whatever. But
so deeper issues of culture that these things can't necessarily. I mean, you can solve what's going on at the moment, the issues that's at hand, but that there are long-term, deeper consequences that we don't just destroy the computer and fly away and they never do the red hour again, kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. I think that's a very reasonable thing to ask.
Have you considered that you are black on one side and white on the other, and they are white on one side and black on the other? Here is a mirror.
Will, anything else?
Things I'm less interested in. I think a lot of the things I'm less interested in are by nature the result of having to fill episodes. Like, I don't want any comedy. Lwaxana Troi falls in love with the entire ship type affairs. But I do want
no high comedy.
Yeah, no high comedy. Yeah. Okay.
And no clip shows. So
well, we're not going to run out of budget, right?
Yeah, so. That's true.
Unless, of course, she is a shape changer here to infiltrate the Federation.
That is true. But yeah, I think it's reasonable to aim for a more mainline tone for things. Anything else anybody wants to put on or take off the table? Let me do one more kind of go around just to see. Paul, good. Alan,
I think probably, and it's probably covered with our line actually on, or a line I think we have on racism, which is those easy stereotypes. You know, there are more to these various species than, you know, Klingon violence, Romulan scheming, Ferengi greed. There's a component of that, but I think let's try to avoid those easy stereotypes.
okay.
You want the next
Even though
generation
they are
treatment,
easy
right?
for a reason.
You want the Ferengi are also entrepreneurs and brilliant adapters, and you want the Klingon have honor as well as violence, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think having those shades is really important, especially given original series approach to those things. Donna, anything else?
No, I think I'm liking the look of what we have already on this palette. Yeah.
Will?
So this is kind of like whenever we're not playing like Nice Black Agents type stuff, my big one is always, and I think it suits for Star Trek in particular, is saving people. You know, like we are on a mission of mercy, of knowledge, of humanitarian. I want, like, that is definitely 100%. Well, I know it may be complicated and all of those things, right? But I want to be put in positions of like we're helping people. You know, we are rescuing them, kind of thing.
Yeah,
like
this is a hopeful setting, isn't it?
Yeah.
At its core.
I did have one which I think I was more, I wanted to read the table on in terms of interest, rather than specifically say. You know, I like Discovery, and I quite like some of the darker bits of Discovery because it lets them have the more hopeful bits. But the one thing that bothers me about both Discovery and Strange New Worlds and all of the rest of them is the tendency to do the Marvel effect of, like, you know, this is the greatest fleet ever assembled. Never mind the Borg who were here 2 episodes ago, but this big bad is the next big bad that's going to conquer the whole. Like, I would perhaps prefer like maybe a slightly lower scale or a more bespoke threat if it is big, like as opposed to like the previously unknown species that occupies this entire arm of the galaxy that no one knew about, that's about to invade, and only the Kintsugi can stop it, versus, you know, someone gains Q's powers and must be stopped, or, you know, this one particular planet or this sector is in danger. You know what I mean?
Like, I know exactly what you mean. I think that's a great point. Is everybody cool with that?
Yeah, I think so. Because yes, I really don't want everyone's warp course to blow up and have to reestablish civilization from a different basis, or even have that threat.
Okay. So let me ask this then. We've got a couple of different scales that we can go at in terms of our ship. We can go kind of for, you know, it's a dedicated exploration vessel, the kind of Reliant sized, you know, saucer with two nacelles on it. We can go, you know, a rebuilt Galaxy class like the Enterprise. You know, from Next Generation. We can do something in between. One, you know, has a more intimate feel. The other one has a lot more sort of shipboard opportunities. I don't know where people are thinking about in terms of the kinds of ship that you might want. Any strong feeling either way from anybody?
I would prefer frigate level.
So
small.
Smaller? Okay.
Yeah, I really don't want a Galaxy class.
Okay.
I think it's kind of almost too powerful. I want to feel at risk when you know, a decent bird of prey turns up.
I'm wondering, like, so in terms of having our cake and eating it. If we are like basically a non-combat vessel, you know, if we can't hope to get into a stand-up fight, then are we like going against our double-handed Kirk proton torpedo slaps and all that kind of stuff? Do we want a little bit more beefy than one of those flimsy science vessels we see turn up every so often?
Well, maybe what we do is I'll look at the Utopia Planitia stuff and the Starbook, come up with a ship that is maybe a prototype for a more hardened exploration vessel, maybe experimental, in the wake of the Borg. The idea that we are going to be doing exploration and diplomacy, but we may need to be more ready for the combat side of things than we would have been before. Does that sound reasonable?
I offer you the Nova class.
The Nova class. Okay, well, there is that behind you. I will look at the stuff, because I do not have my ship recognition brain. Much like I cannot identify a car when I look at it as to what brand it is. I am blind on those kinds of things.
How big a crew do we want? I think is a useful measure of thumb, right? Because my understanding of something like the Defiant is that it's much
too small.
Yeah,
too small.
Whereas the Enterprise is, I think, nearly at the thousands, right? Like it is a huge ship, essentially. And then, I would be saying somewhere like the 100 to 200 range in terms of maybe, up to 100. Maybe 200 is like, if anyone wanted to go bigger, would be more my scale, but like enough to have extras, but small enough that, the crew is not losing like dozens and it just being like, who cares?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I will take a look at the Nova class and other ones, and we'll get a sense of what the numbers are.
Nova might be a bit out of your time scale. I can't quite remember.
I will take a look.
It's kind of a cut down Voyager.
I will take a look at the books. The Utopia Planitia thing has a lot of new ships. They got some of the people who worked on the MMO to come in and bring those ships in and design some new things. So there's a lot of really interesting resources in there. So we'll come out and figure that out. So kind of have a sense of what we're doing character-wise for our ship. And we will have a tab for that ship. I think I said in the email that I wasn't going to do that whole sort of crew support thing. But I had an interesting conversation with Patrick on Sunday, and he said to me they had just finished playing Star Trek Adventures with all the bells and whistles. And he said for him, the most interesting thing was that crew support, that ability to come up with a character on the fly, put them in the book, have some stats for them, have them possibly advance, call them back in, a little bit like how Free from the Yoke and Legacy does quick characters. So we will be doing that, and I have put that on a ship tab, which will have the ship stats, and then have a place to put in crew characters as we come up with them and can call them back for stories. So that is something that we will be doing. So let's talk what people are thinking about in terms of homeworld, in terms of people, in terms of general role. If you have ideas, if you're still just kind of open, what would you like, Will?
So I had been messing around with the character generator on this thing, which is great, by the way. Really does everything for you. And I think I'd sort of ended up with, I'd like to play a Betazoid that isn't the ship's counselor and isn't just all wishy-washy and sort of like, high nobility, like kind of, because one of the ones that we mainly see, right, are the Troys, basically. Like it's the Skywalker problem of every that species is represented by one family, essentially. And I was thinking I'd like to play like maybe a Betazoid, maybe like a security focused one, because
Okay.
it feels as though that telepath / empath powers would be an actual fit. It's like view it from the other side of things, like kind of looking into stuff, investigating. Obviously it being Star Trek, like, Worf is essentially like the head of security and then becomes a captain of his own ship, right? Like it's that whole everybody in Starfleet is an astronaut. So everybody in Starfleet down to the janitor can apparently become a commander of a ship, right? So like I'm not wedded to the security station as like his main thing, but that being the sort of however it ends up, that being the kind of the track, like the focus kind of
Okay.
thing.
No, I like that. It's a nice chance to get another perspective on that. I think the new Star Trek Player's Manual has some other things on how to handle those Betazoid abilities with some additional options for those. So I think that's a great role. Anyone else have a strong sense of what they'd like to do?
I know what I don't want to be a Bajoran. I find the whole religious way that the Bajorans are portrayed in the book kind of uncomfortable. Their kind of talent options I think are a bit dull.
You could be a Bajoran.
Say again?
You could be a Bajoran heretic who's like, the prophets are just weird aliens who live in a wormhole.
Yeah.
And
Sadly, character generation requires me to take a species talent, which is not that. I'm thinking instead. I mean, part of me is attracted by a Vulcan science officer. I won't pretend that that's not the case. But actually, I think the rules about engineering are more interesting. So I'm quite interested in engineering. And apart from not wanting to be Bajoran, I'm open-minded on species.
Okay. So we kind of got a sense of what you want, or as a kind of a range. Donna, any thoughts about what you would like to do?
I had no strong thoughts about like which division to be in, but maybe like a relatively young human, someone maybe in the academy during the Borg attack. But quite happy to play a con officer or something like that.
Okay. And that is one of the things we're going to talk about sort of after we do our character life path, Jen, is where were you when Little 5359 happened, and kind of do a vignette for that. Paul, what about you?
I like, you can't go wrong with Kirk, let's go down that route.
Okay, you want to do the captain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody else has expressed anything.
Do you have any sense of what you want to do in terms of species?
Human.
Okay. I think that is fair. So we've got a Bezed, we've got a couple of humans. Alan, with that particular range of things, do you know what kind of a species you'd like to be from? The books, we have a whole ton of options.
We do. I've always had a sneaking love of the Andorians. But I think I want to go against type. Where have they gone? There they go. The Tellarite engineer. Female. The Tellarite engineering officer, I think.
I think that's a great choice. We haven't really seen the Tellarites. We've got the Andorian in Strange New Worlds, but we haven't really seen the Tellarite. So I think that's a good pick. So we're going to walk through the steps of the life path creation. I think everybody has grabbed a row there, a column there in the character keeper. So once you have that, your species is going to give you a trait. You're going to get a number of these traits. Traits are like a little bit like aspects from fate. They're a thing you can call on to give yourself a bonus or to give yourself a penalty. There are some examples under each of the racial templates. And let's see here. So you are going to start, everybody has set your attributes are all set at 7, and your disciplines are all set at 1. You're all going to have basics on that. So in this first round, you're going to get +1 to 3 of your attributes. You're going to get that species trait. You're going to get access to talents that are unique to that species, and you're going to get 1 talent. And your species also gives you a bonus for one of, I believe, attributes. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. It's the +1 to 3 attributes is listed under the species. I apologize.
Do you mind if I do it all in the Modiphius app?
That is certainly fine.
Cool, because it's just so structured and easy.
It's super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Yeah. I presume we're only using the core book, right?
No, I've got everything
Okay.
available. I've got all of the character creation notes and rules and the collected life path material in the folder on the drive. So you're welcome to use anything.
Okay. Oh, but I mean, in terms of the okay, collected life path materials. Wow. Oh no, I mean, so there are on the app there are sources for Alpha Quadrant, Beta Quadrant, Gamma Quadrant, Delta Quadrant, Command Division, Operations Division, Science Division, TNG, DS9.
Yep.
Yeah, so I can just tick everything.
You can pick whatever you'd like to have.
Okay, because I just haven't seen what those options would be. So
okay, so take a look through there.
Oh my god, I can play a Borg character. I think the major thing is that the species list has just like tripled in size compared to just the core. I'm glad no one wanted to play a Soong type android, because you can't have an entire plotline about Data being so unique and then have dozens of them running around the galaxy.
Yeah.
Does either empath or telepath have a preference with the GM who would have to build a world around such things?
My preference would generally be empath, because that's kind of how we've seen the Betazoid.
Cool.
Beta Z.
Empath, then. Betazoan?
Beta Z, Betazoid.
Yeah. So we're free to select until we get to the events. Is that right? Just to
so that step 1 is about choosing your species, assigning those species traits and attributes, getting that set. Then when we go to the environment and stuff, I'd like to slow down and kind of go around and get people to pick on those things.
So if I've got this right, then you get +1 to attributes in the 2 or 3 attributes that are linked to your species.
Yeah, you should have 3 attributes linked to your species.
Right.
You should get +1 to each of those.
Okay. Then the trait is broadly a description. It's a very broad aspect.
Yeah, well, in this case, your trait is like human or Tellarite.
Exactly. Yeah. So yes. And then the species talents. What I'm maybe, Will, you've had more of a fertile around the online character generator.
Now, with that
which
one
one of
talent,
those?
the one talent that you take doesn't have to be a species talent.
Oh, really?
It
I
can be
thought you got
whatever
a
you
choice
want.
of-
You just
Oh, I
have
see.
access to them.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
So
Sorry,
you
I
could
thought
get
they
a
were.
Bajoran.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. Yeah, I thought there was a choice of 2 species talents for each of the species.
There are, but you can take those during character creation if you want them. But if you don't want and you want to take something else, you can take something else.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you're interested in the species like abilities, it obviously makes sense to be the first one you
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah.
But
That's
if you do the online app, it's worth keeping in mind that as you gain ranks in in attributes or within skills, it will open up new talents as you go down the path, basically at different points. Gosh, I can go all the way to Picard here. I can go on another species world, soon type android.
Give you a couple more minutes to get that finished out, and then we're going to talk about the environment, which is the next step. And the book has a set of choices for these, and the player's guide has an additional set of options. So I'll talk through what those are.
One more question.
Sure.
1 talent or 2 at this stage?
At this first stage, step 1, you're going to take 1 talent.
Fine. Yeah.
You should have 7s in everything attributes, but 3 of those raised up to 8s. You should have 1s in all your disciplines. And a talent. Now, if you can't quite decide what talent you want, you're welcome to just put 1 talent in there and choose a little bit later, because I know it can be a little overwhelming. I do have a table, a tab with all of the talents that's in the keeper. The first column is all the general talents, and then the rest are the talents kind of arranged by the different aspects: command, con, security, etc.
And this first step has no impact on discipline. That's once we get into
Right.
life
We're
path,
gonna walk through. If you're using the automated keeper, I'll have you tell me what you're getting, which result you're taking for each of the things, just so everybody's on the same page
Fine.
on those things. for those of you at home, normally I would be pausing the recording, but this is session 0, so it is all going to be this. So if this is not your jam, you can move on to the first episode next week. Paul, are you doing yours in the automated thing, or are you putting it in the keeper?
I'm doing it in the automated thing,
Okay.
but I have copied some things over to the
Okay,
keeper.
I just wanted to check through. So the second thing is your environment. And the book has a set of possible environments that you can come from. They have a role for that. It's table, the home world, busy colony, and so on. There's an alternate set that you could roll on instead that includes utopian paradise, cosmopolitan, rigorous discipline, asceticism and introspection, struggle and hardship, occupation or war. So, Will, have you generated yours on that already?
I went with a human world.
Human world. Okay.
Which gave me a fairly broad choice to go for.
So you're raised on a human world. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm imagining, some human, majority human settlement, basically, one of the core worlds or something like that. Who knows? We'll see how I end up in life creation, right?
And you get one of the human attributes, you get a +1 in, and you get a +1 discipline, and you choose another trait. You choose a value based
So
on it
I've
at this point.
chosen to raise daring, and the value I have learned from my time being raised amongst humanity, rather than the Betazoids, is all life has a reason for its actions, whether they know it or not.
I like that. Paul, what are you doing for your environment?
I pressed the random button and took whatever it said, and it came up with isolated colony.
Okay. So you got to raise either your reason or your insight.
Yep, I went with insight.
Okay, and engineering, science, or medicine.
So just running through what we haven't got. So we've got an engineer. We've got security. Donna, what sort of?
Con, I think, is what I'm going for. So at the helm.
Okay, I've picked medicine then.
Okay. And a single value.
Yeah. I've gone for respect for cultures, no matter how diverse.
Okay. Alan, what about you? Do you want to roll, or if you got the thing?
I rolled randomly and got busy colony.
Okay.
So character comes from one of their culture's oldest and most prosperous colonies. That gives me the option of selecting daring or presence. I think I'm going to go with presence at this point, from 7 to 8.
Sure.
And then, I get command, science, or security. I think science is a no-brainer for our engineer.
Okay. Donna, what about you?
I also rolled randomly. Why else have a life path unless you're going to take your chances? So I rolled Starbase Starship as my environment. I picked Starbase, and I went ahead. I've rolled for upbringing, and I got Starfleet.
Okay. And so you got controller, insight from the Starbase, and command, counter, engineering. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let us jump forward, since I know you guys have this in the automated thing. This is the upbringing. Will, what did you take for your upbringing?
I had just decided to roll after Donna's challenge there and go back on my previous choice. So trust fate to the gods. I've gone. So apparently they were artists and creatives, do I accept or rebel?
Yeah.
Clearly rebelled against
Okay.
that.
So
Yeah.
you get daring +1 and fitness +2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My discipline, I think I will go with command.
Okay. Uh,
Then lose my extra talent. Choose.
You get extra talent, and you also get your first focus. Now, focuses are interesting, and if you these are definitely ones that if you want to decide those later, you can.
Yeah, but it would be a focus that would be related to your upbringing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that the focus is perhaps I think that his parents, his upbringing, they were artists in that they were writers, they were like sort of semi-celebrity types, you know, kind of like entertainers almost, you know, like bringing people together and dramatists and things like that. And what he took away from this is a investigation. You know, is
Yeah.
that looking and seeing what makes people tick and the reasons for people.
Why was your family, your Beta said family on a human world? Like were they diplomatic representatives? Had they kind of left to become part of this other society? Was it travel? What do you think? Carnies.
Carnies. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Space carnies. Okay.
Space carnies. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe a bit higher class than that.
Okay.
But yeah.
Space Cirque du Soleil. Okay.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe more maybe more along the lines of like, you know, I don't know what if they had these things in America, right? But you know, like Louis Theroux's dad wrote all those like diaries of traveling up and down the wine guide to Europe or whatever.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
basically like, you know, they're not members of the Federation in that sense. They are people who they are Beta Zeds who traveled around like writing travel guides and guides to people and here are the cultures. And you know, when a Klingon says something like this, you can understand that what he really feeling is this. You know, take it from me. I'm a Beta Z, and I think their series was called "A Feel for Things."
Okay. Oh,
You know,
God.
yeah,
I like that.
They're awful.
My Year in Space Provence.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
So,
yeah. Space yuppies. There we go.
yes. Let's come to Paul. Paul, what did you do for your upbringing?
I went with random, and I grew up on a agricultural or rural planet in a rural community on the frontier.
Okay. Accept or reject?
Accepted.
Oh, interesting. So control by 1 and fitness by 2.
Yep. I picked as the discipline. Now, is it better to pool a lot into discipline or spread them about?
So I would say that your disciplines are going to range 2, 3, or 4. So there's not that big a difference there, but they do kind of represent your, like, when somebody looks at you, what your sort of skill is in that division. So, I mean, if you want to be like a doctor, you would go, you know, strong down that medicine track. But if you want to be a character who's clearly, you know, trying to have a broad range of knowledge and get further in Starfleet, it might be better to spread things around.
Very well. I've gone for security.
As I remember, the last stage allows you to do a bit of shuffling
Yes.
to make sure that you've got a discipline that kind of matches your job on board.
Yeah, so you'll have some chance to shift too. Security is nice also because it adds to your stress and also gives you a damage bonus, just to mention that. And do you know what you want to take for your talent? Or are you still thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to take pack tactics. So whenever you assist another character during combat, the character you assisted gains 1 bonus momentum. if they succeed.
That's very nice. Donna, what did you take for upbringing? You'd started to tell me before.
Yes, Starfleet, which I accepted.
Okay.
I took the value independent, I think.
That makes sense.
And a focus of starship recognition, which I think means looking out of windows a lot.
That makes perfect sense. Do you know kind of what you want in terms of talent?
Yeah. I think given that I know I'm not going to be putting an awful lot into security, I think Resolute, that bog standard human one, is a good place to start.
Okay, I think so.
So we'll see how that works out.
Alan.
Yes, I randomly wrote business and trade. We have connections on countless worlds, which I'll just make a note of somewhere down here, for instance. Okay. And I think probably, given that I went with a first value, which was work hard and you get on from that busy colony,
right?
I think I accept the business and trade background, which gives me +2 to presence and +1 to daring.
And what about for your discipline raise? What are you going to put your point in there? Engineering?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Just to catch up here. Yeah, engineering makes all the sense in the world.
Do you know what you want talent-wise?
Yeah, I mean the no-brainer here is, oh, I've lost it again. Where's it gone? There is just the engineering. Hang on. It's alphabetical, isn't it? That's good. Cautious engineering. Whenever you attempt a task with engineering and you buy 1 or more D20s by spending momentum, you may re-roll a single D20. So I think alongside this kind of calm, no nonsense, work hard, you don't mess about, you do the job properly. Recruit.
All right. So one thing I'll mention, Alan, Donna, you may want to take the trait in the trait box. You've got sort of the summary of human things. You may want to put that down lower in kind of the notes, because you're going to have several different traits that you're going to be adding in there.
Okay.
All right. So that brings us to your time at Starfleet Academy. And this is just we talk about track, and you can choose your track at this point. I mean, you could roll, but I think people probably want to choose that. And that is going to give you a value, 3 points to spend on 2 or 3 attributes, +2 to a single discipline and +1 to another, 3 focuses, and a talent. So Will, what are you taking for your track?
I think I'm going to take the officer track.
The operations track, you mean, or command?
Sorry, here's on the thing. It says choose between officers or enlisted tracks. So I will go with officer track and operations track.
Okay. Paul, you're taking command track? Okay. Will, do you know what talent you want to take from that track?
No, I don't yet. No.
Okay. Paul, do you know what talent you want to take?
I don't.
Okay. Donna, command, operations, or sciences?
I guess it's command.
Okay.
There's a lot of interesting talents. I'm not sure whether or how we're managing ship combat will make a difference to those or not. I don't know. I'm just going to pick something that sounds cool.
Okay, I think that's a good time, and we can switch these around when we kind of see how play goes. Alan, I take it you're doing
Engineering, which is operations, isn't it? Or
yes, it is.
Something similar.
It is in operations.
The talent I'm going to take is interrogation from security.
Okay.
Seems a natural fit for, psionic security officer, right?
Absolutely. I tend to picture that more as questioning than interrogation in my mind. I actually had changed that name when I did Star Trek Express, but I changed it back to match the rules. Alan, do you know what talent you're thinking about?
No, I'm running a bit behind. I was just
Sure.
sorting out my focus. I went for a focus in linguistics to reflect the family business
Oh, I like that.
connections. But I know I'm going to select my major as engineering, so I'll put engineering to 4. And I think have we got any con at the minute? Can anybody drive this thing?
Donna is doing that.
Oh, fine. Okay. Then logically, I think we don't have a medical officer, do we?
No.
No. So I think I will take.
I've got quite a bit of medicine.
Have you?
So just to say how it stands right now, I'm at 4 in security, 3 in command, and 2 in con. Those are my choices so far.
Okay. Well, in which case I will stick with whoops. 2. So I'll take science and medicine. There we go. Yeah, right. So science goes to 3, medicine goes to 2. So that's one of those. And I get to increase attributes, don't I? Well, the logic would be the 3 you can add to attributes can be in one place or scattered about.
Can be yeah. They can be 2. I think they can be 2 and 1 or 1, 1, 1.
Okay, then I'm going to put 2 into reason because that just seems to make sense. And 1 into 1 into daring because this is Star Trek. Duh. And then 3 focuses. I think that I'm going to take 1 in hand phases because, it's a dangerous world. 1 in warp field dynamics and 1 in power systems. Okay, and in terms of a talent, so many talents and so little time.
And again, do feel free to just say, I'm going to write in talent here and choose later, Lowell.
Yeah, I might. I'll keep browsing.
Sure. Will, are you picturing your character as, with the career track, as a young officer, experienced officer, or veteran officer?
I am thinking experienced officer, to be honest.
Okay.
Unless I ended up being the captain, and then I was go with veteran officer. But I think, Paul, you expressed an interest in being the commander, right? Yeah. Then I'll go with experienced officer.
So that just gets you a value of your choice and a talent of your choice.
Yeah. I think my focus is that I'm going to choose from Starfleet operations track are going to be espionage.
Interesting.
I think there's hand phases. You know what? Hand-to-hand combat. I'll go with that.
Okay.
And I think my other focus may well be mediation.
Oh, that's a good call.
I was thinking like there's interrogation and stuff like that, but I don't want to be playing like the Federation's Judge Dredd kind of thing. I'd like to be playing other sort of, what's the thing that police are supposed to do that they never do? the escalate.
Absolutely. And keep in mind that focus is a very mechanical thing in this game, in that if you can apply a focus that you have with a particular discipline to a task, that increases your crit range effectively.
And you should have a value that expresses some characters' beliefs developed during their time at the academy. They're always hard, these values, and this
Yeah,
game
I know. You may want to. That's another one we might want to write in value and then go back and take a look at the examples in the character creation section.
I'll take another one. So let me go with experienced officer. You know what? You also get to do values when you do career events. Is that right? I think.
I believe so. Or at least you get another value coming along here. You get value in finishing touches.
Cool.
Okay. Paul, young officer, experienced officer, or veteran officer?
Veteran.
Okay. So you choose a value that reflects that, and you get the veteran talent.
At the moment, I'm on the command track. Do I need to move to the next phase called career?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So command track, we got that gave you value, gave you those attribute bonuses.
Yeah. And the
focuses.
talent I picked was I'm a doctor, not a scientist.
That's the one that allows you to sub your medicine in for that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to press the career button.
Okay.
Select career. Yes, veteran officer.
Okay.
So
All right.
I'm where you want me to be.
Absolutely. Donna, what about you?
For career, I'm going with young officer.
Okay.
And I think for value, based on that, I'll go with by the book.
Okay.
Which I'm sure will get ripped up or thrown out or whatever at some stage, but right now, by the book.
And you get untapped potential, which means you can't have any attribute of level 11 or discipline above 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure there's an upside to it, but
yes. Yeah, there's a additional effect. I think get extra dice for effect.
I just pasted it into my traits, so I'll review that at some stage.
Yeah, you can put that under the talents. Alan, young, experienced, or veteran?
I think experienced.
Okay. So you get to choose any value you want, and you get to take any talent that you want.
Yeah. Okay. Let me think. What have we got?
And do hold off before we go on to career events, because I do want to kind of do those.
Yeah.
Get two of them, and I want to roll kind of one-on-one. In fact, we may actually take our break and then come back to do the career events here.
I think that's a bit narrow. Oh, experimental device. I think it's going to be the talent I'm going to take.
Okay.
Oh, either that. Oh, jury rig. Yeah, come back to me.
Okay.
That.
Yeah. Just make sure that like experimental device, you have to have an engineering 4+.
Oh. Right.
Yeah, there are some requirements on some.
Oh, that's okay. No, I do have 4.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this. Let's take our first break here. Let's take 10. We'll come back, and I want to go around and everybody do one of their career events and then the other one, so we can kind of talk about what that looks like in terms of your character and so on, and make sure that we're not doubling up on too much. So take 10. So we're going to take a look at career events, which you generate rolling a d20. I do want to go around, and that way, if somebody gets the same career event as somebody else randomly, You can choose to re-roll or however you wish to do that.
So would it make more sense then to use, in terms of the online character generator, to select career event rather than just take the one it gives us?
Oh, I
Yeah,
think you
because
should.
we're rolling 2d20, right?
You roll it. So right now you'll roll. I'll have you roll a d20. We'll just do that. We'll see what you get. If you want to keep it, you can keep it. Otherwise, you can re-roll. If you do end up with something that somebody else has already gotten, we'll have you re-roll here, because we want to have color in this. So, Will, what is your first career event?
I was just trying to find the table of career events. Where would I find that?
In the book, it's on page 119. I'm not sure where it is on the.
Yeah, and the thing is just, just because you can't, I don't think you can. I think it's awkward to re-roll is basically the problem.
Oh, you can't do it again?
Yeah, because I think you have to then basically just undo the step that you just did, right? Like go back, kind of thing.
That was my point about random or choose. If we go to the choose option,
all right,
then we can roll the dice. You can tell us the result, and then we can decide.
That seemed perfect. That's what we'll do then.
So that is page 119 of the character creation.
Yeah, so I have it open if you want to roll a d20.
Okay. Well, let's try this new dice roller thing extension.
Okay.
Stellar Travel Adventures. Oh yeah,
Yes.
I wonder. Okay.
So that looked like a 7-year-old?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A 17 and a 3, I think.
Okay. So which one do you want to go with?
I don't know which ones what they are because I haven't got the table.
Well, no, let's so
okay.
which give me the first number you want me to tell you about.
17.
17 is special commendation.
Okay.
And that is basically that during a crisis, you save the lives of several colleagues, helping them to safety.
Okay, and 3?
3 is lauded by another culture. You were involved in a mission that earned the official praise of a non-Federation culture.
Let's go with special commendation.
Okay. So there was a crisis that earned you a commendation. What was the crisis, and why is the mission in danger? What happened?
The crisis was a Cardassian booby trap. They sabotaged a civilian transport hoping to lure in a Federation ship, and the medical away team that we beamed over to it was nearly caught, but I exposed the Cardassian spy among the crew and got to them before they hit the detonator.
So were there repercussions to this? Are the details of this event on record?
No, I think I was approached. I think by a man in a very grey Starfleet uniform who said he was from a certain double-digit section,
right?
And that it was better for these things to be, so it was. It went down as a saved the crew from a reactor coil mishap, but
Nice.
it revealed to me that Starfleet has wheels within wheels. So
I like that. And you get a bonus to your fitness of 1, and you get to raise any discipline that you want by 1.
We do multiple events, don't we? I think.
Yeah, this is your first event. You'll get a second one in a minute.
Okay, so I'll get to raise another discipline as well, right?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. You know what? Sod it. Let's go all in on security. I'll be a 5 on security.
All right.
And my focus will be Emergency medicine. I think it will be 0G.
Okay.
You know what it will be? You know what actually the focus will be? Search and rescue.
That sounds good.
That was the focus of our cruise, of the ship I was in during that period.
All right. Paul, let's have you roll.
So
20.
This dice rollery thing, I've installed it.
Okay.
It says I'm on manual, introduce stats manually. So I've typed one called career. Would that be correct?
Yeah, or you can just hit the test dice.
I don't see any test dice. Okay, so I've got normal, advantage, or disadvantage. So just normal.
Just normal.
And okay, clearly I'm not doing something right here.
Are you in the right roller, Paul? Does it say STA-2D20 roller at the top of the yonder?
No, it just says yonder 2D20 roller.
So
right.
Here, if you go down, when you go to the yonder dice roller for sheets under extensions, it'll go over and it'll have some choices. And under 2D20, there's a drop down for stellar travel adventures.
Working on it.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Roll test. It doesn't seem to be doing anything. Roll CD.
No, it should be roll test.
That's sort of like grayed out.
Oh, so is mine. That's interesting. Yeah, mine doesn't either.
Click on the dice. Like, just click on the dice.
Aha.
13 and 10.
So 13 and 10. So 13 is called out as superior, and 10 is transporter accident.
Transporter accident sounds. Let's go for transporter accident.
Okay. You suffered some kind of strange accident while using a transporter. What happened, and were there any repercussions?
Yeah, I think this is Star Trek The Motion Picture, where they have that transport error right at the start. Clearly, I do survive, but I'm left with some physical disability. I think my left hand is, or my left arm is sort of not working as well as it should.
And how do you feel about transporters now?
I much prefer to take a shot.
Okay. You get, because you're now cautious and careful, you get to increase your control by 1. And the character, the experience means the character takes the shuttles more often than transporters, so you can increase your con by 1.
Excellent.
And then you get a focus. Reflecting something you learned because of or in the aftermath of. Donna, what did you get?
I rolled a 19 and then an 18.
Okay, so 19 is breakthrough or invention, and 18 is solved an engineering crisis.
I'm inclined to go with breakthrough or invention.
Okay. So you made an important technological discovery, devised a new way of using a particular technology, or invented some new technology that would be invaluable in the future. What do you think that was?
I wonder if it was something like extending the kind of warp field behind us to throw off a pursuer.
I like that.
Something like that. Something maybe that works with kind of the warp drive.
Warp drive, electronic warfare kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you can choose any attribute to increase by 1.
I guess let's go with reason.
Okay. And then you do get to increase your engineering by 1.
Okay.
And you also get a focus reflecting your achievement.
I mean, I guess experimental, or maybe improvisation.
That's nice. Alan, what did you get? Are muted. 2 and 4.
2 and a 2 and a 20. Sorry,
Okay.
I thought they hadn't rolled, so
Okay.
I've just re-rolled them.
So 2 and 20 or 2 and 4?
2 and 20.
2 and 20. So 2 is death of a friend.
Ooh.
And 20 is first contact.
Hang on, what am I looking at the minute? What's the current state of presence or death of friend insight? I think I'll go with death of a friend.
Okay. So who was it? Like what happened?
That's a good question. I think this was my first commanding officer. And I think, how did the character know them? They were so this was someone I went to the academy with.
Okay.
They were promoted ahead of me. They were my captain on that mission. What was the mission? It was a science mission to investigate some astral phenomenon. And how did the friend die? I think they led the away team to examine the phenomenon. Who was to blame? Me.
Ooh.
I was too slow to transport them out.
Dark. So +1 to your insight, and +1 to your medicine.
And a focus
Yeah.
is you can be too careful. ...
So that's a value.
That's a focus.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
sorry, no, focus. No, I beg your pardon. Sorry. Internal counseling. I think I'm going to go with transporter operations.
Okay.
If
That
that's
certainly
okay.
makes sense. Yeah. That brings us back around to Will.
Okay. Well, let me try rolling again. Occurs to me I should just leave this 2d20 roller open rather than close it every time.
Ah.
Does it? Yes, because it requires me to re-enter everything that I have done. So if we set it up with our attributes, you want to leave it open for the rest of the game, I believe. Is the
I'll have to check and see if there's a way to save on that. I'll have to ask Anya.
well, it's an 11 and a 16.
Yes. So
plague or discovers
or
an artifact.
artifact spelled with an E, so it's spelled wrong.
So that's going to bug me. That's the original British English spelling. Artifact. I use the American English spelling.
I know, and the book is written in American spelling.
Well, clearly it's written in the future English. Of,
yes,
both
the hybrid American British.
Yeah,
Canadian.
Canadian. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think discovering an artifact is cooler, isn't it? Let's be honest.
That makes sense. So what? During a survey mission, you encounter a device or fragment of technology from a now extinct civilization. So what did it do, and does it still function?
Um, I think this was a sonic blade of some kind.
Okay.
And it does still function. What is known about the civilization that made it? They I think what is known about the civilization that made it is that they were feared.
Okay.
And little else. I think perhaps no. I think that the legends of the culture, the surviving cultures around them, tell of people who inflicted their pain upon others.
Interesting.
Like reverse empaths, almost. You know.
I like that. So you get +1 reason, +1 engineering, and a focus of your choice.
I think the focus is I think it is in I've already taken hand to hand as a focus there. So I know, what's it called? Psychometry?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the focus is on like
Reading objects, yeah.
objects, yeah. Which I don't think is a ability that my character felt before he encountered the Whispering Blade.
Nice. Paul, 2d20.
Let's roll.
12 and a 4. So 12 is betrayed ideals for superior, and 4 is negotiate a treaty.
Let's go with negotiate a treaty.
Okay. So you were part of a delegation that helped negotiate a treaty agreement or alliance with the culture outside the Federation. So who was that with? Like, what culture was it with? One of the big ones, a B tier, or a minor one? What do you think?
I think it was a minor or an alternate human civilized sort of culture, something that was sent out a long time ago from Earth and established a culture that then grew independently from Earth. And I think with my background from a very isolated world, I was brought in to assist with pulling them back into the fold of the Federation.
Nice. You get +1 control and +1 command, and you get a focus. Like diplomacy and negotiation, which are classics. Donna.
Yeah, let me roll. So a 12 and a 16.
12 and a 16. So either discovers an artifact, and you feel free to re-roll that, or betrayed ideals for a superior.
I do like betrayed ideals for a superior. Maybe I'll try a re-roll on the 16 just
Okay.
to see if
Let's see what we get.
offers me something different. 12 and a 12.
12 out of 12.
Sure.
They really want you to betray your
They,
superior.
they really want me to betray my ideals for a superior.
So you're placed in a situation where you had to choose between a trusted superior and your own ideals, and then you chose to follow that superior. Who was that, and what did they ask you to do?
Paul, do you think this is, with our current crew, or do you think this is like, before I was assigned here? Do you have any?
I think this has to be one of those before I was assigned here, so it pops up as a backstory element.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, so I think, maybe in the first kind of placement as a wet behind the ears ensign, maybe the captain of this vessel. Just trying to think what am I? I'm just going to look at my values. Yeah, I think I think it was like a slippery slope order, right? Where doing something in a first contact situation, and maybe it's a situation where we feel like, or at least the captain feels like, we're going to have to break this prime directive to get what we need to fight the Borg. And I think that's probably an easy argument to make in this kind of existential threat mode that we would have been in.
But time has passed. How do you feel about it now?
Yeah, I think yeah, the more I think about it, the worse I feel about it, because I feel now like the captain was really just should have known better, right? That the ramifications of this were, we probably haven't seen yet, but the payoff, is basically nil as far as we can see.
All right.
That might change, but
are details of the event of what happened on record, or have they been hidden away?
I think yeah, so I think maybe while the argument itself was something that you could go one way or the other, the fact that we hid what we did in the report is like the real sticking point, right? And so this captain has gone on to brighter and better things because of this success, but the record is lying on this.
Absolutely. We'll have to figure out who's playing the guest star for that particular week. So you get +1 presence and +1 command, and another focus.
So I mean, I don't want to. Do I put something down like I don't know, reading between the lines or something like this? I know how reports can be massaged, so maybe a little bit suspicious, or
investigation or suspicions. I think those are reasonable ones to have, or something along those lines. Yeah.
Maybe we'll go with investigation. It seems a little broad,
but you want to have broad in this for those
sure.
focuses.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Alan.
Muted.
13 and 2.
13 and 2. So 13 is called out as superior, and 2 is death of a friend.
Oh, Oh, now that's interesting. Can I re-roll the death of a friend? Because, I
Yes,
don't want to get that kind
absolutely.
of reputation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have we already had lauded by another culture?
It's been rolled, but wasn't taken, so it's still available.
Okay. Or alternatively, called out a superior. Where's that one gone? I think I want to have called out a superior.
Okay.
Now, are we looking for opportunities here to have created links in backstory?
Not necessarily. You can if you want, but you're welcome to.
I'm wondering whether I called out the superior that Donna betrayed ideals for. But I don't know that Donna was part of that. Or have we hidden that away? I wasn't listening enough. Do you
think,
want that
Donna?
superior to still be on the good, in the good books?
I mean, maybe the kind of this incident is just indicative of their play fast and loose by the rules, win at all costs kind of approach. So maybe you've called him out on some other thing where he got his hand caught in the cookie
Yeah.
jar, right?
Like another ship or another complete mission there. That sounds
I
good.
like that. I like that. So I will go with called out a superior.
What do you think the hat tried to get you to do?
Again, I think it's about the Prime Directive. I think that they play fast and loose with it. I think it is the same crime. It's the same, just bending the rules just this little bit. But given that I have a value which is Starfleet are the good guys, I couldn't kind of live with that.
That's great. And is this one on record?
Yes, I think it is. And I think that I will take as my focus Starfleet Protocol.
Yeah, probably had to defend yourself against some charges there.
I think into trouble again.
And you increase your reason by 1 and your con by 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's check the finishing touches. Everybody gets another value, which you can put in or write value, and we'll figure it out later on. You can't have any attributes that are above 12, and you can have only have one attribute that's a 12. If you took the young officer, then that cap is at 11. And if you are above that, you can always flip it around. And then once that's done, you get to increase 2 of your attributes by 1 each. But again, those normal limits apply.
I've gone for 12 in daring.
All right. And then the same thing sort of applies for disciplines. You can't have any disciplines above a 5, and you can only have 1 discipline at a 5. And again, if you have that untapped potential, then it's a 4. And you get to shift those around. And then after that, you get to increase 2 of your disciplines by 1 with those same limits applying.
Okay. Now I have to ask you to say that again more slowly.
Okay. So you may not have any disciplines above a 5. If you have a discipline at a 5, that's the only one it can be at 5. And after that, if you've gotten that set, you can increase 2 disciplines by 1 each. But again, those limits apply. So you can't make a second one of 5 by that.
Okay.
Okay. Once you've done that, the final check is this. All of your attributes should add up to 56. all of your discipline should add up to 16. If not, adjust. You should have 4 values, 4 talents, and 6 focuses. And you'll set your stress to equal to your fitness plus your security.
All right, I seem to have lost a talent somewhere on the way.
Easy enough to do. So just mark that you've got another one to choose.
Yeah.
Note for purposes of this that when you go to roll damage, melee or ranged, whatever, you always have a damage bonus equal to your security rating.
Where do we have some gaps? Because I can see Donna's is in the keeper. I'm just wondering where we sit in terms of either disciplines or attributes. Whether there's some gaps.
Yeah,
I'm
why don't
very,
we
very fit, very presence and insight.
let's do this. Let's pause here. Why don't those of you who have yours in the electronic one go ahead and put it in the keeper so everybody can see and we can kind of make some choices there.
Okay.
Now we need a program that feeds that automatically.
Okay, I've put mine in. But I'm just going through the values now. Well, I like that the dice roller has different color schemes for different Star Trek iterations.
I love it because Anya didn't have to do that, but it just looks so nice.
Does anybody know when you fire up the dice roller and it asks you for it says, "Who are you?" I see. No, it seems to reset. Don't worry about that. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, what do we got?
It's interesting to see how they have modified things across the different systems. Um, uh, uh, the fact that focuses here are sort of general rather than being assigned to a particular discipline, where Dune does it assigned to a particular stat. And the one thing you'll want to remember about focus is, and I've got this wrong in the rules, is when you have a focus that applies, if you roll whatever under your discipline or under, that's when you get a critical. So if you have a discipline of 4 in something, you have a focus that applies, anything on the d20s that roll 4 or less count for 2 successes rather than 1. So, Paul, you're going to be the captain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as the commanding officer,
Yep.
and I'll you can find this under the underneath the talents in that tab. I've got what the role abilities are.
Yep.
So you can spend a point of determination to grant any other character you can communicate with 1 point of determination. So you can pass it over to them. Normally, when you spend determination, it has to be linked to one of your values, but you can kind of do that automatically. Will, what are you thinking about for your role here?
I was thinking, you mean in the crew of the Kintsugi, right? The Kintsugi.
Yeah. And I've got the list of the role abilities there on that talents tab at the bottom.
Let's see. Let's have at the bottom. At the bottom. There we go. Oh, there are actual mechanical effects to this.
Oh yeah.
Wow. I mean, I'm the ship's counselor because I can't think of another thing for the Betazoid to be.
You don't think you want to be the chief of security?
I think I do want to be the chief of security, but I was just looking at intelligence agent, which is quite a cool one. You may create an advantage without requiring a task or spending any momentum, threat, or determination. Yeah, I'm almost tempted to go with that one rather than yeah, I think I am going to
Which
go with
one of us is the intelligence agent here to watch?
yeah.
And did he ever work for that captain that you and I have had
Right.
issues
Yeah.
with?
Yeah, I think I do want to go for intelligence agent just because that's quite a cool one, and I think it's.
But your division is security, so you're
Yeah.
so that means it's a common thing for you to be sent places, and you have some contact there.
Yeah, I think that's the cover, right? Is a officer within security, right? Like high-ranking security officer.
Right.
That's cool, but an intelligence agent, which plays in nicely with the value that I'd taken at the last one was a section 22 cannot be trusted. It was one of my values. So perhaps I don't trust the intelligence, because I mean section 22 are like the deep dark black ops of the Federation.
Is it 22 or 31?
Section 31.
Numbers keep changing.
Both those sections think it's the other one that
Yes.
you need to
Section
worry about.
31. Section 31. Section 22 is the Public Order Act of 1986.
So
If we want to go truly dystopic, right?
Yes, it's an alternate Thatcher base. We're in the mirror universe. Donna, what are you thinking about for your role here?
So the kind of app gives usually a really obvious choice of your assignments, though the list for me seems very strange. The first choice is Fleet Liaison Officer, and the second is Strategic Operations Officer. I have no idea. So I think I'll go with the obvious one and go with Flight Controller.
Okay.
I guess, which is a fancy word for helmsman.
Yeah.
Or helm officer. So yeah.
Yeah, these are just sort of general classifications for people. And Alan, what about for you?
I am slightly torn between either the chief engineer, which is the obvious one,
right.
But then I did notice as I scrolled across, expert. An expert. When you use this,
that one's sort of to represent like kind of a guest of the week kind of. Here's our anthropologist kind of thing.
Fine. Okay. Well, then let's steer clear of that one and stick with the straightforward chief engineer.
I would like to use two of my. I got two remaining values. I think I would like to use one to be related to the crew in some way, and I'm just wondering whether to that generic or specific. Thinking maybe Han Lital's Starfleet are the good guys. or seems very earnest and chipper.
Mm-hmm.
Work hard and get on. Stereotyping is easy, but waste potential. Maybe my value is Little's trust should never be abused. Something like that. Like, yeah.
That's interesting. I like that. Is that I shouldn't do it for practical reasons, or like you don't like to disabuse people of their faith in Starfleet?
I think it is about that idealism. I think it's that the dream only exists as long as people believe it, right?
And I think you can make it more general. It's not just Lital. It's when you meet the people who really believe in it.
Yeah.
So let us, when you can fill some things in here, but I do want to come and have you want to walk through your character and kind of have you give us the pitch on how you're picturing them. We know a lot from what we've seen here in this character creation process, but I want to check in. And I am going to work across a character keeper. So Alan has chosen poorly. So Alan, we're going to you're going to give us your name and tell us who your character is.
Yes, I am Han Lital. I am the Tellarite chief engineer. And I think we probably, in that kind of pre-title sequence, we see Han with an engineering crew deep in the bowels of our ship, busily checking that everything is fine before we depart on our mission, or before we go on the next step in our mission. And I think we are going to stereotype him in as much as he is typically Tellarite. His manner is gruff. He tends to bark at people. And then that gives me something to play against as we move on.
Okay.
But yeah, working hard. And there is nothing more important to Han than this ship doing the job it was designed to do.
So let me ask you this. The Tellarites are one of those core peoples from early Federation. We certainly saw that in Star Trek. I have a rock song for our title sequence, which I can't remember the name of. But they're in those people. But we don't in later seasons see the Tellarites as much, which suggests that while they're part of the Federation, they don't have as many people in Starfleet. Do you think that's true, or do you think that there's another reason we're not seeing them? Like, what do you think that is the case with that for the Tellarites?
Oh, I think that's why I believe that stereotyping is easy but waste potential. I saw excellent Tellarites at the Academy who dropped out because people didn't invite them to social things. People, because they're not very pretty in the way that humans judge it, and some of the other members of the Federation, and so I think I've got a bit of a chip on my shoulder over that. That's why stereotyping is easy but waste potential. And also, maybe culturally, the whole massive organization, rather than conceivably clan and business focused stuff, is trickier for us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I think that we are not as common as we should be, because we would add a lot to this organization if people would just look past the way we look.
Strong in engineering, and good range across the board. No real weaknesses in your disciplines there. Because
I'm not going to make the same mistake that cost my friend, who could have been an admiral one day, the first Tellarite admiral.
I like that your stress is going to be 11 because of fitness plus security. And what do you think your rank is?
Well, that kind of depends on on what rank the captain is, because then we work down, don't we?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that I am more than, if we're going for a medium, we're not going for a gallantry class. Then my guess is that I'm probably sitting somewhere in the lieutenant to lieutenant commander.
Okay, that seems fine. That seems more than reasonable. Where were you 18 months ago? Were you at Wolf 359? Were you
No, I
on
don't think
another
so.
ship?
I
Okay.
don't think so. I think that I think this may be a kind of not a what's the word I'm looking for? I think that there's a chance that I have not served aboard a starship since I called out that officer. That I've been put in charge of some engineering task at a starbase or somewhere else.
I imagine you at Utopia Planitia, the shipyards.
Fine.
Like okay.
Because engineering is the thing I do. But in the fallout after Wolf 359, some people are getting, missions that otherwise would not be getting missions, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, everybody's getting called up.
Yeah, they can't
many
afford
people
to ignore the expertise I can bring. They're finally seeing past that issue.
Excellent. And then next, Astrid Ward, Donna.
Yeah, so Astrid is a young human officer, I guess, essentially just out of the academy, though with a few notable incidents in the past year or so. Yeah, I think obviously by one way or another, her command discipline is higher than I probably intended at the start, but I'm not sure she has the presence to really think about actually commanding anyone yet, except maybe the ship. So I'll make her an ensign if we're kind of slanting a little bit lower rank,
right,
given the size of the ship. Yeah, I think like the kind of values that I have built up is gives a mixed picture, of someone who is by the book, but now given her experience with this captain who has yet to be named, trust must be earned. She trust but verify maybe is the way to put it. So maybe not as quite as social as you might think, given her kind of command nous and that kind of stuff.
So let me ask you this: raised on a starbase, like were your parents part of Starfleet, or were they just people who worked on a starbase? What do you think that was?
Yeah, I think with upbringing Starfleet, which I rolled, I think she must have lost people at Wolf 359. Maybe an older brother, or maybe even a parent on some starship.
And were you at the academy, or were you back at the starbase, or were you on another ship when that happened?
I think academy.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe that final year got truncated or whatever as people were being rushed into service, but you're too late to kind of get to the action.
I like that. And then our captain.
So I've gone with I'm going to go with Commander.
Okay.
Commander Adrian Carlton, who was raised on a very isolated agro planet. And I think on that planet, there is a set population limit. And they, the ones that can no longer sort of chew the leather. They're the people that are selected every time somebody is born. So it doesn't really fit in with Federation norms in that respect. And I think that's where he gets his respect for other cultures, no matter how diverse comes from. He did leave the planet to join Starfleet, where he really goes into the medical field. And then in the battle with the Borg, basically, he was on the USS Garrett Anderson, which suffers, it's taken out. He survived that, one of the few survivors, and that's when he then transfers to the command role, goes back, receives a little bit more training in that area. And I think now this is where we find him captaining his first minor starship, with the rest of the crew here.
Do you think you were older than your typical cadet when you went to the academy, or do you think you've been in Starfleet for a long time?
I think I've been in Starfleet for some time.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I probably did join at a young age to get away from that planet. But yeah, I was very much in a mundane medical role for a long period of time before things happened, and I now find myself in a command situation.
Were you reluctant to take up that role, or coming out of Wolf 3 or 5/9, did you know that's what you wanted to do?
I think after witnessing the amount of loss of life of Federation people, I think I hold some resentment against Fleet Command, and the only way I feel I can solve it is by going into the command situation.
Sounds good.
We should have been more prepared.
I like that. All right, I think that gives us a good sense of who you are, which brings us, last but not least, to Will.
So I'm playing Lieutenant Vate. And I'm just, as I was about to say his first name, I realized that I would stumble over that every single time I said it. So he's going to now be Drenavate, rather than Ikis Vate. So Drenavate is a Betazoid. He was raised largely around Earth and the Sol system, with accompanying his parents, who were Betazoid. Well, they like to call themselves like cultural attaches, like envoys of the people, but what they really are travel journalists. They were the authors of A Feel for Things, The Strange New Worlds Inside, a best-selling text which presented, the human race and its various cultures through the eyes of the empaths, telling them everyone, and part of a series that they wrote. But he really didn't get along with this voyeuristic detachment, and decided to join Starfleet. I think probably not as like a teenager, but as a young adult. I think he'd was working maybe local security, and helped a Starfleet crew, and was basically introduced to the idea. During his time in Starfleet, he served in the Cardassian borders, helping out with many of the threats there, which is where he first came to the attention of Section 31, keeping some Cardassian sabotage covert, so as to not inflame tensions in the area, which he thinks perhaps sold the Marquis out short. Like basically the Federation didn't play everything straight, leaving enough of a gap for the civilians to feel emboldened to take it on for themselves. And who could blame them, knowing the full story? During his time, he also joined he was immediately sort of specialized in search and rescue as part of that service, which eventually led them to the site of an extinct species called, let's just call them the Whisperers, was their name, where he encountered the Whispering Blade, which imparted upon him a novel new incarnation of the Betazoan telepathic empathic abilities. He's one of the rare psychometric, which stems from that, and his role on the Kintsugi is ostensibly as a lieutenant in the security team, on the tactical operations desk perhaps, but he's really been tasked by, and I think the captain is aware of this at the very least, he's been tasked by Starfleet as an intelligence agent. He is there not just to seek out strange new worlds, but to seek out strange new threats, possibly those growing in the wake of the Borg invasion and the destruction of many Starfleet assets. We didn't see the Borg coming. Let's hope we can see whatever's coming next.
Where were you when Wolf 359 went down?
Working search and rescue.
Okay, so in the like before that, and then the immediate aftermath, you probably would have been sent there.
Yeah,
dispatched quickly. So you saw the aftermath firsthand.
I think that he's been sort of softly recruited by Section 31, even though he doesn't trust them. And I think that during his time of search and rescue, they had him, like, I need you to examine, civilians, the civilians you rescue, make sure that they are who they say they are. And then suddenly, all of whatever everyone's private agendas went out the window the second that the Battle of Wolf 359 went absolutely, the wrong way. Critical. I'm trying to think of Star Trek euphemisms for, arse over end, basically.
Yes. I don't think it's pear-shaped in Starfleet, but
Rigelian pear-shaped. There we go.
Excellent. So,
should I list off my values? No.
Sure.
I went with all life has its reasons, whether it knows it or not. Section 31 cannot be trusted. Nothing is more important than an innocent life. And my final one, I decided I would actually tie it into that experience with an artifact, which is that the galaxy is haunted.
Interesting. All right. So we are going to stop here. We are going to take up next time. I will have the ship stats and such for us next time. So we'll look at that, get that play. We will do a pre-credits set of scenes, of Wolf 359, that timeline and where you were at, just to kind of build some color before we come to this ship essentially being launched after the repairs and rebuilding. Any questions? We will you'll have the opportunity to make some shifts and things after the first mission, so you can see how it plays, what your choices, how they fit, and so on. So there we have some flexibility with that. I'm going to hold off on Stars and Wishes until next time, after we've had a play session, but we'll do that next time. And I am going to stop the recording here. Hit stop.